What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another edition of the Anabolic Outpost, where I will be showcasing my recipe for Anabolic Red Lobster Biscuits. These iconic biscuits are hands down the best chain restaurant biscuits, with that cheesy, buttery flavor and the parsley garnish to complete it. But as we do things here on the Anabolic Outpost, you won't be receiving those excess calories that you get from the cheesy and buttery flavor. Instead, it's complete with a much higher protein content while still being lower in calories than the restaurant version of the biscuits. And to make them, it's much easier than you think. And it all ties into this carb-quick baking mix that you may not know about, but like it says, 90% fewer carbs with much less calories and also an increased protein content. I'll link it in the description for you to get yourself some. Of course, we got the cheese, the fat-free cheddar version, fat-free milk or the milk of your choice, just a tiny bit of butter, and to season it you'll need salt, garlic powder, and that signature parsley garnish. And before we begin, you'll want to preheat your oven to 450 degrees. Moving on to the recipe part, you'll need a medium-sized mixing bowl as well as your digital food scale. And you can start to pour in that carb-quick baking mix, measuring it out at 120 grams. Next up, I'm going to add in 15 grams of butter, but I am just splitting it into smaller chunks so it's easier to mix. I've got 56 grams of cheese going in next, about 1 gram or 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, a pinch of salt, and the last ingredient for the dough, 120 grams of milk. And once you have all those ingredients in there, go ahead and give it a mix. Once you've mixed it thoroughly, it should look something like this. Should also pass the Greg Doucette over the head test for thickness. And you could take out a cookie sheet, layer it with parchment paper, and begin to transfer the dough into 4 individual biscuits on it. Of course, if you've been here before, you know my cooking spray hack, spraying it on your hands, making it less sticky when you have to play with the dough. Either way though, it's pretty easy, you don't have to shape it or anything, just get it into 4 individual lumps. And here is a quick flyover prior to putting these in the oven. And you'll do exactly that. Once your oven is preheated to 450 degrees, you will bake them for 10 to 12 minutes. And once that does bake, we can make our buttery spread that will go over top. So you'll take an additional 15 grams of butter, throw it in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds till it looks like this. And I'll usually just eyeball the parsley, adding about 1 teaspoon or half a gram into the mix. And optionally, going a little bit off the original recipe, I'll also add in a pinch of dried chives. Just adding a third seasoning to the mix to help build up that garlic and parsley even further. And using your pastry brush, you could give it a quick mix. Fast forward a little bit, I have taken the biscuits out of the oven after about 12 minutes. And I did let them cool for a little bit, just to maintain structure before I apply the buttery spread, which is what I'm doing here. Just eyeballing it so each one gets a fair amount of butter and seasoning. And here is the finished product, looking and tasting identical to the Red Lobster biscuits you know and love from the restaurant. But unlike what you would get in the restaurant, the macros on these are uncomparable. For the recipe that makes 4 biscuits, per biscuit you're looking at 10 grams of protein, 15 grams of carbs, and 10 grams of fat for a total of 150 calories per biscuit. And if those macros aren't adding up in your head for you, probably because they have 10 grams of fiber that come out of nowhere per biscuit. So obviously a little bit higher on the fat side than most of my recipes, but compared to any other biscuit, it has butter in there. It's going to be very high in fat. This is very low in comparison, and the protein is not even close. Try and find another biscuit that's even close to 1 gram of protein per 15 calories. And with only 5 grams of carbs, the macros on this one are nowhere near the restaurant version. That is all for today's recipe tutorial though, a very quick one but a very tasty one. If you did find this helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.